to 411 T Street, unfiltered conversations on mental health and the issues in society that impact us all. This is where we break down the barriers and explore the topics that intersect with the challenges of modern society. I'm Dr. Milan Bray, and each week we'll dive into raw, honest discussions on the systemic issues that affect us all. We'll hear from experts, thought leaders, and everyday people offering real stories and actionable insights to help you achieve an understanding of the issues that matter most. No filters, no sugarcoating, just real talk. Welcome to 411 T Street. Today we have our esteemed guest, Dr. Emily LeTran. She is self-defined best mom ever. I love that. I was a best mom ever once, but my baby had 4 legs. So why do we, of all your accomplishments, being a dentist and a public speaker, and you've been in a movie and all sorts of, you were at Cannes. Oh my gosh, like I'm so jelly. Of all the wonderful things that you've done, why that? I mean, from the obvious, but let's let everyone hear your rationale.
Well, first of all, best mom in the world. I don't know about ever, but best mom in the world is good. And I think being a mom and a business owner and doing a plethora of things just like any other mom, I like to lead with that because it really does define me. A lot of the things I do it because of the kids. You know, when people say, hey, what's your legacy? Well, usually when we're leaving a legacy, we got to have some people following us, and they naturally have to follow me because they
Whether
because
they
they
like it or not.
whether they like it or not. And really in my journey growing, I go to seminar, they go to seminar, I listen to CD, they have to listen to the CD. I'm in a movie, they have to go watch it, you know. So, so I think it we're never alone, right? Whatever you do or I do or any of our listeners do, there's a circle of people around us. And I think if we sometimes we can define us in the sense of how we impact others,
Mhm.
I think it makes a difference. And for me, as a mom, I think that's the most cherished job. I don't know if you've ever seen, there's this video I watched one time. It was on social media, and it shows all of these ladies applying for a job. And the person who interviews a guy. So you go, wow, I want you to know this job is 24/7. And the lady go, okay. And then another scene, he go, I want you to know that this job is, and so he listed all these things. At the end, he go, and by the way, you do not get paid. And then right after that, they say this job is being a mom, right? So I think we all do this job so beautifully. I just like to lead with that. And my journey coming to the U.S. as a refugee, and I came here with my aunt, my dad's youngest sister. So she's mom and dad, depending. And so I didn't really have a mother figure, like a true mother figure, because my mom passed away when I was 8. So my whole thing is always, when I have my kids, I'm going to be there with them. I'm going to protect them. I want to make sure that I'm in their lives. And so far, I think I've been doing a pretty good job. You know, the oldest is 20. I got a 28 years old, a 24 years old, and a 22 years
Oh
old.
my God. Okay. No,
And
100%
they,
never would have guessed. Wow. Okay.
yeah, and they just, yep, sometimes they say they hate it when they go to seminar and somebody asks, are you Emily's son or daughter? And then they start saying, your mom is so great. And they're like, what?
Like you don't live with her.
You just don't know. uh, but I think for me, it's always about how we serve others and how we impact others. And let's just choose the kids first, and then everything else can follow.
100%. Children model our behavior. We can tell them
Mhm.
all the things we want to tell them, but most of the time, while they do listen occasionally, what they really feed on is what our actions are.
Mhm. Yes.
We as parents, and I don't have skin babies.
Mhm.
But I know as a child psychology expert and
Mhm.
instructor and working with children around the world, they look at us for guidance through the examples that we lead.
Mhm.
And so even if they don't love the seminar, the fact
Uh-huh.
that you are trying to better yourself, that you are trying to explore different avenues, that you're listening to other opinions, maybe that information doesn't resonate with them, but you're showing them the way that we find our footing, we navigate our path by exploring different things and being open to the conversation.
Yeah, and I because I come from a communist country, right? So we understand, or I didn't understand until I get here, the power of brainwashing, right?
Mm.
And I'm just thinking, might as well brainwash your children, your your students, your patients with the right information, right? So and I think that sometimes that's what's lacking is we take the kids on great, beautiful vacation places and we
Mhm.
buy them nice things. Um, how about directing them to what we want them to learn and what's going to help them in life? I remember several years ago, I went back to Vietnam to visit, and my classmates, right? This is friends from fifth grade. And I didn't know what to bring for their children because they have kids about the same age. So I decided to go back there and went to a bookstore and bought Think and Grow Rich, translated in Vietnamese.
Oh, interesting.
So these kids were like waiting for a great gift from the US. And here I go with the Vietnamese books version of Think and Grow Rich. And they go, what is this? And I said, this is your guideline to success, and I need you to read this, right?
Mhm.
And I'm sure by now they would appreciate it.
Mhm.
Of course, I bring the regular stuff, the candies and things. But for me, I think as mothers, fathers, bosses,
Mhm.
right, leaders, it is our job to nourish the team and the people around us with the right information, the things that help us grow. I
Mhm.
think we have that job to pass it on. And for me, actually, I made it mandatory. At one point, I started learning, oh, I don't think I can push all this education on my staff because some of them, they only want to learn so much, right? But I know that whatever they did learn and they did pick up, it made a difference in
Mhm.
their life. And I'm so glad you're talking a lot of time about, your mental health, right? About paying attention to all these things that affect people, because people need to people need to grow and they need to nourish their minds so they can actually lead a better life. Because sometimes we kind of forget that. We think, oh, here are all the physical stuff and here are all the wealth or the all the amenities or whatever you have around you. But then how come you always hear a story of people being unhappy? Um,
Mhm.
People sometimes taking their life, right? Or people just breaking down, and you would think, I want your life. And when you learn about it, you say, hey, my life is so much better than you. Just because I just have these kids around me, or I just have my family around me, and we can sit around and eat dinner together, and we don't have to live so that other people are looking at us. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
we don't have to be in the public eye and be under all that stress. And I think it's so important in this day and age.
100%. I, l- although funny, not funny, the word brainwash, that is so spot on. I've never really, I mean, I probably thought about it that way, but not like that. You know what I mean? Like not to
Mhm.
that degree, because it's really what it is. we do brainwash our children because they really, it's the tabula rasa. They come out, they're a blank slate, and then we just smack a bunch of garbage onto their little template. And it's generational trauma, it's baggage, it's narratives, it's religious ideologies, it's our view, our worldview, it's our community view, it's our culture, blah, 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 our language, it's
Right.
all of it. We just smack it all on there. And I don't think a lot of people, parents, specifically think, what am I imprinting on my child? And the other part that you said is making sure that they have a better life. But I think in order for those two things to merge together in a values driven way is the foundation of course, values. What does that look like? Are you teaching your children these kind of fundamental concepts of, and anyone who listens, I've probably say this every podcast. Are you are you leaning into a values driven life? Are you looking at love? Are you looking at truth? Are you looking at inner peace, not world, like
Yeah.
peace, right conduct, nonviolence? Like, what does that look like for you? And are you living in these truths? Are you following the thread to integrity? So because values mean a lot of things to a lot of people. And I think in this particular culture, in the United States, and you being now from the United States, and for a very long time, obviously, but we seem to be kind of unraveling in this space of what we value. And it's not the things that you're talking about, the meal time, the time with families, gratitude, all of those kinds of things. We're focused on some other things that are sticky and messy and not going to take us as a country and a culture to a really uh enlightened place, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, so one of my pet peeve is, show me, right? Like being practical. I don't need the preaching. I think especially as adults, right? We show me. If you say integrity is important, show me what you do. I used to work with a couple of dental consultants, and they always talk about being generous, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they never really show.
Mm-hmm.
And then I work with a different consultant, and he made us write out our goals, the goals of how much you're going to give.
Oh.
Yeah. It's like, hey, if this year you say you're going to give away 10,000, well, next year I want you to increase it, 20%. You're going to give away 12,000 or some kind of whatever is the equivalent. Or you say, I'm going to give away 10 hours of work or a volunteer's work. But that to me, he just instantly won my respect, even though he was charging a whole lot more. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm paying this person more, and he kept talking about money, and we need to make more money, and this is how you make more money. And then on day two of the meeting, he say, now you're gonna all write down your goal of how much you're gonna give. And I go, oh, this is the right person, right? Yes, you can make a lot of money if you make the goal to give, which means you think bigger than just yourself, right? And I think that's that's some of the thing that is lacking because everybody can say anything, and especially now on social media, you really there are people hiding behind their words, right? They say all these things, and sometimes I know them, and I know that they're not that, right? Unfortunately. So for me, you know be and people talk about being authentic, um but they only showing one part and not the whole thing, and I don't ask you to show the whole thing, just whatever you want to show, but just stay true to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So these are some of the things that I think, to go back to the kids pick that up,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they learn it. And I remember when my kids were younger, and we live in this kind of affluent community because we got lucky. We bought a house there. The
Mhm.
kids kept telling me, "Mom, do you know that you're one of the few that drive a van and not an SUV and not a Porsche or whatever Lexus?" And I go, "Hey, I got three of you guys, and then you guys invite people to go to the movies, and I go pick up kids, and we go take stuff to the dental office. The van is the best thing. It's a practical thing. If somebody's gonna define me because I drive a van, let them define,
Mhm.
right? Yeah, they don't know I have three dental offices. I got to lug things around. And they
Mhm.
don't know that my kids are very social.
Mhm.
They invite friends over and I come pick people up. So, but those are the values that are important to me, right? So I don't, my values can define me because it's family,
Mhm.
right? It's practicality. But I don't have to justify that to the world. And I think that's the other thing is when people, they're not just, they don't just trying to compare themselves, but they always want to justify it. I do this because of this. Let me tell you. And sometimes I'm thinking, I never asked. I didn't ask. I don't need you to tell me, right? If that is what you believe and that's what you're comfortable with, then just be that way. You don't have to justify. And so I think in this day and age, if we can just be truthful to ourselves first, right? And understand what our values are. A lot of time people get stressed because they're doing something that is against their value,
Mhm.
but they never pause to say, I really don't want to do this, right? Um, because but if you don't address it, if you don't really think about it, then you don't know why you're stressed.
Mhm.
If you go to work and let's say you work for a production company and you are more the kind of people who are going to be detail oriented, maybe you want to work for yourself instead of going over here and pushing production, you can easily get stressed just because that's not you, that work doesn't fit you, right? So simple things like that, I think when people understand themselves, that they can actually steer themselves away from situation that stress them out.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people, and myself included, I've made choices not about what
Mhm.
I value, but about the money behind it. Um, and that's part of living in a very capitalistic society.
Mhm.
And we both live in California, so we also have there's a vibe here.
Yeah.
Put it that way. So that there's a value behind, notoriety and pretense and who are you
Right.
stuff. So and not just here, it's permeated itself, throughout it's a thing everywhere. But it it seems like with regard to children, it's really challenging for them to sit on the principles or stand on the foundation of values when it's not really something that, well, one, they see these kind of double bind messages at home, and
Mhm.
when I say that, I say, like, do as I say, not as I do. Like,
Mhm.
they say, don't they punish a child for not lying for lying, and then they go and they watch their parents lie to their friend. Oh no, sorry, I'm so busy. It's like, mom,
Right.
you're like standing right there, like, or they hit a child for hitting, or they yell at a child for yelling, like there's a lot
Mhm.
of messiness going on with parenting. But I think, if for me, and that's why I developed the Tay Academy, for me, it's really important to infuse these values in the education system. I feel like we just really need to go back to the foundation, back to the basics, back to
Exactly.
the truth of what is important in life. Because if we remind kids and we show kids and we teach kids and we we spotlight the things that are important, they're not that they won't go rogue, because we're people, we have our own path, journey, right? But at least they'll have some roots in these fundamentals. And there's always, as a psychology instructor, one of the things that we talk about is, whose responsibility is it? Is it the parents' responsibility? Like, for example, the topic of bullying. Whose responsibility is it? Is it the school's responsibility to stop the bully? Is it the parents' responsibility? Who is responsible for this? And this is a big question, but at the root of this, we have to understand that children spend approximately 35 to 40 hours a week in the education system, whether that's in a classroom or at a sporting,
Mhm.
football or basketball or whatever. They're with somebody else. Let's just put it that way. And a very small amount of time, quality time, is spent with their parents, and even less quality, more with their mom, even less with their dad. So it's a big question. Whose responsibility is it? And I always circle back to my students and say, it's everybody's responsibility. It goes
Mhm.
back to that expression, it takes a village to raise a child. So the entirety of it needs to be going back to these foundational components. But the question is, how do we do that?
Well, I think a lot of time, and this is where I get upset sometimes because people keep talking about the future, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the future is here. The future is whoever you're influencing right now,
Mm-hmm.
right? People keep talking about they don't have enough time, and you got cars that drive by themselves. You got food that can be heated up in, I don't know, 30 seconds, right? My kids would say, no, it's mommy. You need mommy hot. So it's 2 minutes. Right? And you're talking minutes and seconds, and you could be in a car literally like not needing to drive, right? You
Mm-hmm.
got all of these technology and you're still talking about you not having enough time. And it's because we're focusing on the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
People, I used to get upset when I have to go pick up when I go pick up my kids from school when they were younger, of the other parents that say they don't have time, right? I don't have time to go pick up my kids. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I have time. I got three dental offices. I take off every day to go pick up kids from three different schools. I just choose to make that time, right? And I understand if you're working for someone, you can do that, but that doesn't mean that you can be home and hanging out with your kids. Like if you don't have time during the day, why spend 2 hours making dinner? I used to cook dinner on the weekend. I cook 4 or 5 things. It's gonna last to the middle of the week. And I got my aunt would say, that's not nutritious enough. And I would say, I've been doing this since dental school and I'm still alive, so the kids can eat that kind of food. But my whole thing was because when I get home, I don't want to be stressed out cooking dinner
Mm-hmm.
at least all the way until Wednesday or Thursday. I can just get home and we just heat up dinner and we can all sit around the table and enjoy time because it's not about the cooking of the dinner, it's about the time together. And then
Absolutely.
by the way, if you cook on the weekend, you can make them help you too. You're like you kill two birds with one stone. So people are focusing on the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
People are not setting up priority correctly, right? Um, I don't like to talk about politics, but just like what we just went through in an election cycle, that people spend enormous amount of time fighting over what they cannot control,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I share with you, I went to Les Brown event, and Les said, "Who's who's going to be in the White House?" And we are looking at him like, and he said, "Who cares? You need to fix your house."
Mm.
Because it doesn't matter who's in the White House. It's what matters is what's in your house, right? And I thought that was so deep because that's what people are not looking at the house, your own house, your own thing. And if we would teach the kids to look at themselves, right? So for example, you touch on bullying. My son went through that, and the whole I mean, as a kid is growing up, as any parent, you always encourage them. Hey, this is good. You're doing a good job, right? But again, when it comes to school, there's peer pressure. And just like you said, he was in choir, he was in theater. There's just two kids bullying him and cornering him. Like of the whole school, there's these two kids,
Mm.
right? And I didn't I mean, there's nobody to blame from what I can see. I've done my best. The teachers is encouraging them, when we address the parents of the other kids, they go, okay, we're gonna go talk to our kids, right? Sometimes kids are just kids, you know, sometimes kids could be mean. Um, so it's for us to give them the tools such as, you know, building up their confidence,
Mm-hmm.
right? To make sure that they understand they can ask for help. In my son's case, I wasn't sure why he decided not to actually ask for help. Um, I actually took him to a business conference, and they have the adult conference and the kids conference, and at the kids conference is where he opened up. And
Mm.
at the end of a 1 week conference, he told me that he was going through this, and he was actually contemplating suicide.
Oh God.
And for me, it was that tool that I kind of gave him, which is the conference, right? And it was that environment where all the kids could be vulnerable to each other because the parents were there. The parents were not allowed to be there, right? So just the kids sharing, experiences with themselves. And so I want all the parents out there, I don't care how busy you are, if you cannot be there for your kids, you make sure that they have a support system that that can help them with that, right? Because it's everybody's busy, nobody has the time. We got all of, we have generations and generations coming on. Think about our grandparents. My grandma from my dad's side had 12 kids. Okay.
Wow. Sports team.
12, yeah, 12 kids. And she raised them all. Like everybody's good. Everybody grow up, have their own thing, have their own lives, have their own families. Nobody got in trouble with the law, whatever that where you can try to define your parenthood, right? And if she could do that, we would think, hey, I have 1, 2, 3 kids. I should be able to do that, right? And I'm living in an advanced society and all that. So a lot of time when I'm coaching my client, it's like, look at what you've done. The last time something difficult happened, a challenge happened, what did you do? Because you can probably do the same thing at this time, even though it's a little bit of a different situation, but that mindset need to be there, that resourcefulness need to be there. If you need help, you need to get help because you don't have to do everything yourself. And it's the same, I think it's the same thing where you let our children know that it's okay to not know stuff, right? It's okay to ask for help. And I think in this day and age, if you ask somebody for help and they decline, most likely you're asking the wrong person,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Yeah.
yeah, you ask the wrong person. You probably gonna go ask somebody else, or find a resource center that, like, for adults. Sometimes we have support groups and all that. Be resourceful, right? The kids nowadays, you ask them for anything, they don't know, they go Google it. Well, and then if you don't know how to do this, well, why don't you go ask? It's the same thing as you Googling, except now you're dealing with human.
Yeah.
And so I think to help us have the clarity in what's important to us, make sure we stick with our values. There's a reason why they call values, right? It's not for you to change from day to day. and 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 really have that grace to say, I don't know this. I don't know how to do this. I need somebody to help me and be comfortable. Like I think it's very important to be comfortable with ourselves.
Absolutely.
When we can accept ourselves, I think that's when we're in trouble. When we start saying, "Well, I'm not good enough." All of those things that we usually hear people
Mm-hmm.
say from kids all the way to adults and CEOs. It's just that mindset where we're not comfortable with ourselves wherever we are.
Yeah, 100%. Well, first of all, I'm really sorry to hear about your son. That's heartbreaking. And I agree that children can be mean, but I think, I'm going to go back to the idea that meanness comes from something,
Right.
either they're being emotionally neglected, they're being dismissed, they're being, something's happening that they are could go all the way back to the beginning of this conversation. They're watching something, they're hearing something, they're
Right.
internalizing something. So even within the constructs of teaching human values, we also need to teach things like nonviolent communication so that
Mhm.
children can learn to express themselves and that they can share their feelings and they can mitigate elevating crisis, right? So that's super important with kids as well. Otherwise, it just escalates, and
Right.
that's not important, or that's not important. That's very important. That's not helpful in the space of all of that. It, it's it seems like there's so much though going on in the world. And kids, you and I grew up in a different era, and then you also had the challenge of being a refugee in this country. But in the space of all of that, as we grew up, there was less static outside of us. There
Mhm.
was less to deal with regard to social media and these other kinds of influences in our lives. So in the space of understanding that we do need to support children, teach them values, clean up their own house, as Les said. Uh, how do we take those first steps? Because it's a big problem. I think I probably ask almost every guest this, like, because it's so big and everybody has a different answer about that first step forward. Because yes, we need to clean up our own house, but there's a lot of people who don't realize they have a messy house.
Mhm.
So
Right, right.
they don't
You
even
know,
know that they need a cleaning crew.
yeah. I think like you said, going back to the basics, right? So let's just say if somebody grew up and they said, "Hey, we're supposed to sit around the table to eat dinner,"
Mhm.
and it's not, we're on the phone or whatever it is that people do nowadays, right? Well, start with those things. Those could be the easy thing,
Mhm.
but because it's easy, sometimes we go, "Oh yeah, well we'll just do that on Friday," right? And then so the next thing you know, you didn't eat together on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday is the only day that you say you have the time to do that, right? Things like not taking, and I'm talking about, of course, the adult version. Thing Things like not taking work home,
Mhm.
right? You
Okay.
got your work on the phone, you're on the phone, you're working. Um, you you go home. I learned this from Ariana Huffington. She came and visit one of the lecture by together with Brendan Bouchard, and she said, "Hey, when you guys go home at 8 o'clock, I want your smartphone to become a dumb phone." And we are, what is that supposed to mean? That means that when people call you, they're gonna get that automatic message that I am busy
Hmm.
and we'll talk tomorrow,
Love.
right?
Just
So
turn
if
it
you,
off. You don't even need that.
yeah,
Turn it
yeah,
off.
yeah, but when she says a dumb phone, we go, wait a minute, I bought this thing for I don't know how much, right? You want
Yeah.
it to be a dumb phone. Well, but see, here's the thing. Yes, you can turn it off, but that has to do with self-control. And if you feel, you know what, I'm important, I I need to always, people need to be able to get a hold of me. I have some friends who are realtor. They think they need to answer every phone call whenever somebody called them to go show a house or whatever. And
Hmm.
I'm thinking, even when I was buying a house, I don't go whenever. I mean, I'm gonna go Saturday morning, Sunday. Like there's certain time when people go see a house. If you go in the evening, you can't see the whole thing. Like all of these things. So set the time, set that expectation, right? It's like with your kids. When you get home at this time, you need to be done with homework, right? At this time, I need you to all go eat dinner together. Whichever time you wake up, and then making sure that they know your expectation and what and that you're going to be checking on them essentially. And as adults, nobody's checking on us. So if we need to set those phone reminders, right? Or like I said, making it into a dumb phone, and when somebody call, even though you didn't turn it off because you may think it's important or whatever, um, they get your attention by getting that message. Hey, I got your message, and we'll talk tomorrow.
Hmm.
Um, things that you put like you put the systems in your life to safeguard whatever is important to you. If time with the family is important to you, that's what you do. I know people who would say, yeah, I walk every day and I do this and I do that, and they do certain things for themselves. But once they get to work, then they just let people walk all over them, right? And it should be a way of life. So that's why I love high performance coaching, because it is a way of life. It's
Hmm.
not just something that you turn on when you go to work, and then you turn off when you go home. It's something that's just the way that you're gonna be, and and you be comfortable with that, and you let everybody know. So that's the other part, is let people know, hey, do not call me,
Hmm.
do not call me about work after this time. uh, you can call me and chat about whatever, or when I was, like, years ago, when I was in dental school,
Hmm.
my whole family know if they do something on Saturday, I will attend. On Sunday, I will not, because Sunday is my study day, preparing for Monday, right? So they know, if you don't want me to be there, just do it on Sunday.
You don't want
I
me.
promise you I won't be there. So, and I'm letting all of them know. So I think that's the other part, is to let people know who you are, what's important to you, so that way they can respect you, right? Like, your kids are the same way. If I mean, I used my friend used to laugh at me because we used to eat dinner, I think, at 5 p.m. when I was an undergrad. And they know at 4 o'clock, I'm going home. Whatever it is, I'm going to go home, because I need to go home, eat dinner at 5. And sometimes we may have a biology lab and it's at 7. So I will go home, eat dinner, and then I will come back. But I need to be home at 5. And so everybody knows that. And I think that's the part where I think, instead of letting people know what's important to you so that they respect your boundary, we let people know about, I don't know what, what you eat for lunch, what you eat, we let people know about things that may not be important.
Yeah, I think it's not let people know, be sure to show. And
Mm-hmm,
for me, everything that you're saying, for me spirals down to one word, and that's integrity. The alignment
mm-hmm,
with your thoughts, your words, and your deeds. When we don't have integrity with ourselves, with our children, with our family, with our coworkers, whatever the situation is, when we have permeable boundaries,
mm-hmm,
um, this just models, this unravels the behavior that we are asking of others. If
mm-hmm,
we ask our children to be honest and to follow through and to go to, bedtime's at 8 or whatever the situation, bedtime needs to be at 8. This permissive parenting movement that's going around, it's crazy to me. Children need rules and structure. Humans need rules and structure. That it's the foundation of Maslow's hierarchy. We need
mm-hmm,
stability and we need security. And when those things get all fluffed up and they're not there anymore, that's what starts to create angst and fear and division and all of those kinds of things. So having integrity with yourself and having integrity and expecting that of others is super, super important. If you're going to do something, do it. If you're going to say you're going to do, if again, I'm repeating myself, if bedtime's 8, bedtime's 8. If dinner's at 5, like you said, dinner's at 5. Uh, Setting those expectations, one, lets children know that there is stability in their lives, that you're going to be there at that time, which is super, super important for children. It makes them feel valued. It makes them feel safe. Even one of the things that I've teach parents, which is so important. Oftentimes, because parents get so busy, even teachers,
mm-hmm,
they say things like, "Not now, not now, I'm busy." I've said it, "Not now, I'm busy."
mm-hmm.
We say it to a partner, we say it to a child. This is so dismissive. It says you're not important. Whatever I'm on my phone, whatever I'm doing, that's more important than you. And we need to make sure that people understand their value. So one of the tricks that I teach parents is whether it's a phone timer or one of those kick it old school egg timers or something, you say, hey, let me just wrap up what I'm doing here. It's going to take me 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an
Hmm.
hour. It doesn't
Hmm.
make any difference. You turn on that timer and come hell or high water, you show up when that timer goes off, no matter where you are in the process. And that lets children know, hey, mom or dad is always there for me when they say they're going to be. That is what's going to create the open the openness to be able to share their feelings, to feel safe, to know that you're not too I'm not too busy for you, you're not too busy for me, whatever the exchange is. And the other hard line, and you've said it a couple of different ways, but I'm going to say it in a little more hard line way. If you choose to be a parent, and I did not, because I'm hella selfish, I'm going to just throw that out there now. No, I'm actually not selfish, but I can be. Uh, but if you choose to be a parent, then be a beep parent.
Hmm.
Be a parent. Make sure that you know that this is a time commitment. You cannot just keep passing your children off to different factions of your teachers, the coaches, the nannies, whatever. Be a parent. Be proactive in that process. Because the other thing that we need to remember as a collective is whoever you set your children in front of, they are also imprinting on them.
Hmm.
And that gets very, very confusing because mom said, and then auntie said, and then my nanny said, and then the housekeeper said, and then, oi, no wonder children are like, and then social media said, and my friends said, it's really confusing. So we've got to be very mindful as parents, which I'm not, of who we are allowing our children to spend time with and be with. And if we're not going to take that responsibility, then again, have that second thought. There's no narrative in the world that says you absolutely must have children if you're a woman. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
Right, right. And
Or a man, you know.
yeah, yeah, and it goes on to, I would just generalize it as being a leader, right? Like if you're gonna
Mhm.
have a business and you're gonna set expectations and you're gonna be the role model because your employees will follow your role model, right? Or your manager. If you put a manager there, that manager better represent certain of your values. You're
Mhm.
not exactly the same, but they got to stick to the same values. And I think when we're talking about, worrying about the future and how it's gonna be, I think, I mean, in a selfish way, create your mini me's, right? Your kids, and then maybe your kids' friends, make sure that they hang out with similar people, similar families. When you're creating a value in your employees, like this is what one of the things I coach business owners. You know what? If you say you're a giving person, make sure that your staff know. Like I had a free dentistry day and my staff cried. The ones that haven't been with me because they go, "What is this? We're just gonna open our door and do free stuff," right? But then it's gonna ripple into the community, right? Like maybe the community is going to start giving, right? And so these are the things that, again, if you accept that responsibility to be a leader, and it could be a parent or an employer, um, do those things, right? Because, and especially if you start thinking, or that, man, people are watching me.
Mhm.
you know, I I am the role model. They watching me. I need to do the right thing, right? I need to set the example. I'm going to walk a little straighter. I'm going to return the what is it, the shopping cart back to wherever it's supposed to be, rather than leaving
You're
it some.
getting your step count in. Just think of it that way.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Like it's the little things.
Hmm.
Because again, it needs to be a habit, and it needs to be your actual way of life. You don't just go to a big event and watch your step and watch everything you talk. You do the same thing if you're in line in the supermarket, or you're at a PTA conference, or you're in the backyard, whatever it is. So I think that's what's important is to make sure to live life with intention.
100.
Whatever you say is your intention. You set that intention every day. You set that intention before you go to work, before you go into a meeting. It was funny before your call here. I was interviewing a lady, and she leads a very successful company, research company, that they're doing AI in the dental industry. And I asked her, what 100 years from now, when people talk about you, what do you want them to remember? And she go, I don't care. And I was like, okay, no, I haven't got this answer before. But what she said, and I understood, she's younger, and of course she's into science. She's a
Mhm.
researcher, graduated from Harvard. But she was talking about, I want people to just remember the, the results.
Mm,
I don't need people to remember me. It's the results. And that I want to make sure that I leave the world better than when I come in. And, even if we just let people think that way, right? You know what? Just go for the result. Because why? If you go for the result, you have to take action. It's not
mhm,
about talk, right?
mhm.
You actually have to take action. You actually look at consequences. You have to look at the big picture. Otherwise, you just blindfolded, or you're just very narrow-minded, and you just mind your own business, and the whole world's falling apart or whatever. That's not what I'm saying. You need to know yourself first, and then you focus and live life with your intention. If you got people in your circle that's not going to support you, don't be hanging out with them, right? Find a better circle. This goes for kids, this goes for adults, this goes for CEOs and business owners, because I'm one of the reasons I got into coaching. And I said, I'm just so sick and tired of people just whining, right? And complaining. Because there are ways to fast track your success. There are resources that are there. Yes, maybe you have to pay for it, but if you want that result, that's how you get it.
Mhm.
And this is how I think this is how we advance as a society.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, it comes down to one of Gandhi's most famous quotes, be the change you wish to see.
Yeah,
Be that change. If you want to see different, be different.
right.
Uh, and the other thing that I teach kids is also we teach them the acronym of WATCH. Watch your words, watch your actions, watch your thoughts, watch your character, watch your heart. And, if we live by these very purpose-driven actions, uh, and we have this, again, this kind of understanding of how what we say, what we do, what we show the world has consequences. Um, it could move the needle for us back to north.
Yes, and that's where sometimes we have to be that guidance, right? Because where is north? And especially when people don't know where we started,
Mhm.
and they don't know where we're going, and we never really explain that. um, it's hard for them to follow us. So that's why I'm always about, yeah, I know you care a lot about this. Does your husband know? Does your wife know? Do your kids know? Do your employees know? Because otherwise, you're just on that train all by yourself. And when you have people supporting you, you can get to it faster and it's less stressful. When you just think, I'm the single person in this house who care about this, or in this business who care about this, because I don't believe that we're alone, right? And especially in this day and age, you can be connected so easily with a click, whether it's on your phone or on your computer, and just be mindful on what you're communicating, and be very intentional, and just be helpful. Be Let people know, hey, you know what? I'm doing this because I want to serve more. I want to create better life, better future. And not too many people can really argue with that, you know? Yeah. So just make sure that people understand who you are. Well, first you need to understand yourself, and then make sure that people understand who you are. And I would say just push through with your purpose, and get to your goals. Why don't you let the whole world know what you're after?
Absolutely. Yeah, that mindfulness is super important. Staying true to yourself, uh, and I'll wrap it up by saying this, because the point you made is so powerful. We need to not just surround ourselves with good people, like-minded people, but also people who inspire us to be better than we already are. And oftentimes we don't surround ourselves with those people. We get complacent. It's like, it's fine. But that rule of five is so important. And even with regard to the things, and I say this often, the rule of five used to be people, but the rule of five now is your phone. You got your phone is one of those people, and then you,
Mhm.
you got the other four. So being really mindful about what you consume with your mind, with your ears, with your taste buds, everything, being very mindful of all of that. Is it inspiring you? Is it making you better? Is it making you healthier? Is it bringing you joy? Are you happy? And asking some of these very fundamental questions. And are you living in the truth of your values? So, wow, that was a big conversation, a very big conversation. So you mentioned a couple of times that you're a coach. Take us out of this segment with just giving us a little 411 on what you do and how people can find you.
Yeah, well, thank you. Like I said, I hate people complaining and whining. And I said, I'm going to take it on myself to fix some of these people. So, I mean, I went through the certification process, and I've been very blessed learning from some of the top personal growth mentors and leaders. And so I do high performance coaching, which is helping people grow to their potential. And it's a couple of things that we have already mentioned, having that clarity,
Mhm,
living life with intention. And it really is to growing yourself.
mhm.
And then the other part is supporting them in their business. It could be the marketing, it could be training their staff. Again, you can't just grow yourself all by yourself. You a lot of times you're the leader of something, your kids, your business. That's how you're gonna elevate everybody. So I do one-on-one coaching. I also do group coaching, and I speak and um,
And you're a dentist?
I host events, and I yeah, and then I fix teeth.
It's like I do that on the side. That's my side hustle.
Yeah. So people can find me by going to my website. It's dremilyletran.com. So it's DrEmilYLetran.com. And we got some videos on there, and they can book an appointment with me, and we can talk about how to take your business to the next level. And I like people to think big. That's my other thing is, okay, so you got that business, you're in the four walls. Well, is there any way you can contribute more to the world? And that's kind of on the high performance coaching mindset. But a lot of us, like I mentioned earlier, doing a free dentistry day, that's beyond your four walls, right? Because you open your door to helping the community, and hopefully that inspire other people to do the same thing. So imagine if all of us are giving a little bit to the community, how much better the community would be.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Which is why I also appreciate that you are part of the G100 and the advisory team for our US community, because this aligns with the work that we do in our wing, values, volunteerism. So
Yes.
thank you so much for joining me. It's just been an absolute pleasure. I never know when which direction these conversations are going to go, and this was particularly meaningful. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do this and to creating the platform so we can all share and learn with each other. And it is one of my intention and my purpose to make the world a better place. And it just start, like I say multiple times, it start right where you are, in your
Mhm.
house,
Mhm.
in your community, and then we go conquer the world.
Go clean your house.
Yeah, I know. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Thank you for tuning into 411 T Street, where we spill the tea on the stories that matter the most. Transformation isn't a single moment. It's the clarity and insight that drives meaningful change and connects us all. If today's episode struck a chord, hit subscribe and share. Let's keep these conversations flowing and inspire real movements. 411 T Street. Get the info, spill the truth, spark the change.